AEW. It was a very, very interesting show. We had the AEW World Championship title tournament, and the first match was Wardlow versus Hangman Adam Page. And Hangman wasted no time going after Wardlow with the drop kick right out of the gate. And I love how Adam Page uses diving and stunning attacks to take out his opponents. The spear through the guardrail from Wardlow was insane and turned the tables on Adam Page throughout the matchup. And Adam Page is one of the most gifted athletes in AEW. He was very successful in the Bullet Club in New Japan, where he came from. And when he crossed over into AEW, that's where he wanted to start. And he started off with a tag team with Kenny Omega, but now he has to be successful in singles competition, and so far he has. As for Wardlow, he has been amazing to watch. His power and intensity, he has power and intensity, and he's one of the strongest athletes in AEW. Under MJF's leadership, he's been very successful, and only time will tell what direction he goes in his career. So now I got to ask you, what are your thoughts on Hangman Adam Page and seeing him move on into the finals? And he's going to be facing Kenny Omega in the final competition before someone earns that opportunity for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship match.
Yeah, well, I thought, the match that we saw Wardlow versus Hangman was very good. But, ever since, Kenny and Hangman did, separate, Hangman has been so good on his own. Just the raw talent that he has, even as a singles competitor, is you see it so much more now because he's able to, as we know, we've seen him before in singles, but right now him in singles is just very there's a lot that he can do, very great moves, and it's going to be interesting to see when he does face Kenny again. What is that gonna be like for them? How hard are they gonna go at each other, given what has happened in the past with them, being tag teammates, and now they're not, and all that rage and all of that, it's just gonna come to a head, and I think it's gonna be an explosive match.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait for it. It's definitely going to be a great matchup. And what I'm thinking is how are Hangman and Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega going to be able to put differences aside and really go at each other in great competition in this matchup? Because, like you said, they ended the tag team and they split into singles competition. So it's going to be, I cannot wait to see how it turns out. I believe they're going to go at it in this matchup.
Oh,
it's going to be a striking match. It's going to be a blow by blow, neck and neck matchup. So I can't wait for that.
Yeah, and I think for sure, it's going to all come together. Can they contain, I guess, their own egos and the fur that they have, and also the animosity that they have toward each other, to be able to, are they ever going to be able to put differences aside? We may find out in this match, or we may not. This may continue.
And the next match was Eddie Kingston versus Matt Sydal. And Matt Sydal, speaking of him, I met him a year ago at ACW. He's a trainer in Tampa for WWN or WWN World Wrestling Network School. And a year ago, that's where I met him, and he's one of the most talented, amazing athletes. He's one of the premier high flyers in the world, and he's not afraid to go. He's not afraid to take things to extreme lengths, and he has not gone unnoticed at all. Matt Sydal can take to the skies at any particular moment, and that's why he's so good at what he does.
Yeah, no, like you were saying, Eddie Kingston is so unpredictable, but that unpredictability about him makes him so interesting.
Matt Sydal.
Oh, I'm so sorry. No, yeah, Matt Sydal, he can do things. He can fly through the air, and just you could see things that you're like catches your eye, and you go, okay, he's got talent, obviously. But if you're also talking about Eddie Kingston as well, I remember when Eddie Kingston first arrived on AEW. I remember the first match that he had. I believe it was against Cody for the TNT Championship. Just that match I watched, and I'm just like, this. He's gonna bring something to AEW that we haven't seen. Just unfilled. He just
Yeah, he's definitely one of those unfiltered guys in AEW. He's not afraid to speak out and say what's on his mind, and
No.
he's really one of those guys who brings attitude and he brings a lot of heat to the ring, and that's what I love about Eddie Kingston. He's just one of those guys who backs up what he says in the squared circle. And the
Yeah,
match between Matt Sydal and Kingston was good, but what happened at the end of the match was Kingston sending
yeah,
a message to John Moxley. And
yeah. He was
Kingston,
supposed to
he
say, "I
wants
quit."
he wants
Yeah,
to destroy Moxley and make him quit at Full Gear. But we will have to wait and see what happens and how things turn out there. But I believe Moxley and Kingston are going to tear each other apart. And this is one of these matches where it's personal. It's exactly what John Moxley said. It's personal between him and Kingston, and Kingston is going to have to literally give his all to win this match. It's going to be a very physical environment for him.
but yeah. For sure. You know, if you've seen Mox and just how his brutality is, and just what lanes he will go to defend that AEW championship, putting him with the Eddie Kingston, Mox, those are two. It's just going to be an explosive match because the power, the agility, just everything about those two guys, that's going to be
Jillian,
an entertaining fight for sure. Because you don't, like you said, yes.
you're good. Your mic cut it out for a second, but
Oh, can you hear me? Am I good?
yeah, you're good now.
All right, sorry about that. So, like I was saying before, Mox and Kingston, they're both they're up front. They don't take any crap from anybody. Two strong personalities in the ring. For sure, it's going to be an explosive match, and that is something I cannot wait to see for sure.
The next thing that we saw on AEW this week was the FTR and Young Bucks promo. The Young Bucks said the old Young Bucks are back, but they don't like how they have been being themselves. But something snapped inside the Young Bucks, and we have seen it for the last couple weeks with them super kicking all the announcers, the backstage personnel. And this is why they've been changing the way they are, because they feel FTR antagonized them, and that's why they are doing this. That's why they are changing who they are and why they want to come out this way and face FTR this way. And the Young Bucks said if they don't win at Full Gear, they won't challenge. They'll never challenge again for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. So they have a lot to lose, and they are putting everything on the lines. So I got to ask you, Jillian, what are your thoughts about the Young Bucks putting everything on the line here against FTR?
The Young Bucks, they're a phenomenal team. One of my favorites. But them putting everything on the line, it is a little risky because it, like you said, and like they said in the interview with Excalibur, if they don't win, they're never gonna challenge again. So you're putting everything you have on the line, and I think that's a very gutsy thing for them to do, but I think that they can prevail. They just have to go for it and you go into that match wholeheartedly, knowing that they can win. They're everybody. It's just if they can win, I think it's going to be amazing. But if they can never challenge again, that's going to be what comes after that. What's next for the Young Bucks?
Exactly, and the Young Bucks are one of the most talented tag teams in the world. They've accomplished a ton in their career, from Ring of Honor to New Japan and now here in AEW. They have been all over the world together, so I'm hoping that they can take a victory at Full Gear. But with FTR having Tully Blanchard behind them, they're going to have to find a way to really distract Tully Blanchard on the outside floor and then come in and take out FTR from behind, so that way they have a fair shot at winning the tag team championships. But it's going to be a close one. I think FTR is definitely going to use everything they have, use all the momentum that they have behind them with Tully Blanchard leading them, who was in the Four Horsemen, and he was part of like a legendary group. So it's one of those matchups where you say it's going to be one of those matchups where you're like, who comes out on top? Who's the tag team that really prevails here? So it'll be an interesting one to watch, and I cannot wait for this tag team championship match.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially after, the interview when FTR, they just got up and left, you're kind of thinking to yourself, okay, what's going through their heads? And also what's going through anything unsaid by the Young Bucks. Everything will be revealed when they do face each other.
The next match was MJF. Well, we had an announcement. There was a promo between MJF and Chris Jericho, and we saw the town hall meeting. That was a pretty interesting town hall meeting. That segment was amazing. It was great. And we saw Eric Bischoff come out and say that he's known Jericho for 20 years and that he doesn't really like Jericho, and he insulted Jericho, and Jericho didn't take too kindly of that. That was an interesting segment for sure, and we saw MJF kind of trying to back up his words and say that he's not going to betray the inner circle. He wants to be in the inner circle and help them out and make them rise more to power in AEW. And I believe MJF can do that, but in order for him to be in the inner circle, he has to beat Jericho at Full Gear. So if MJF wins, he gets to join the inner circle. And MJF, he might win with Wardlow behind him. And but before we get to that, next week, MJF has to win and tag team with Wardlow against Sammy Guevara and who am I trying to think of? He's in Proud and Powerful. I can't think of his name right now, but they will be facing that team. And because MJF is a tactical genius and because he plans accordingly, I know for sure he's going to have something up his sleeve. So something definitely will go down next week on Dynamite. But we saw that Sammy Guevara does not. He does not want MJF in the inner circle.
No, not one bit. No, you saw just the disdain on Sammy's face, and you go, okay, that's if like what? Here's the thing: if MJF does beat Jericho now, that's a big if. What could possibly happen with Sammy? Like, we don't know. But obviously, we have to first see if him and Wardlow can win before he even faces Jericho.
And Santana wasn't too happy about it either. He was backing. He was just saying on the microphone, if somehow you get past us, we'll let you in the inner circle. But next week we're gonna make sure that you never get to Full Gear. And MJF and Wardlow have to be ready for this tag team match because Sammy Guevara and Santana, they're going to do everything they can to keep him out of the inner circle.
Exactly, yeah. And also one thing, too, once again, it's a big if MJF can beat Jericho, who isn't to say that once MJF is potentially in the inner circle, will he stay loyal to them? Or is he planning something in his head like, okay, me joining the inner circle, I can do so this and this to try to maybe even break them apart. But who knows? We like I said, we have to wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you have to really think about. If MJF does get in the inner circle, how do we know he's not going to stab the inner circle in the back and try to form his own group out of the inner circle? That's what you really have to think of and watch out for. And that's what Chris Jericho needs to be on the lookout for. So I cannot wait for that matchup. And the match we had was on AEW this week was Orange Cassidy versus Cody. TNT Championship Lumberjack match. The match was okay. I felt like it could have been a bit longer, but the Lumberjack match started out very strongly. And Cody is amazing at pinpointing his target and going to work on it. And he definitely showed it in this matchup. Outside distraction allowed Orange Cassidy to capitalize momentarily, and the match was definitely fun to watch, especially the superplex onto the Lumberjacks and to the floor on the outside. That allowed the match to pick up from there. And Cassidy, he was close to winning that match until the Dark Order got involved, just like the week before, and they cost him this matchup twice in a row. Because if he won, he could have been TNT champion already.